Not Tiger? Not Tiger?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. You filming yet?
And welcome back to our talk about democracy, the poem by Langston Hughes.
Woo! Yes. Yeah.
So Rick,
Yeah.
in the first stanza, what do you think Mr. Hughes is talking about there?
Okay, well, I think he says that democracy will not come today, this year, nor ever, through compromise and fear.
That is what he says.
So yes, it is.
Exactly.
So what I'm thinking that he's trying to say is that democracy is something that America wants to achieve, and back in his time,
But it can't happen through fear in society, because if people fear having equal rights, democracy can't exist.
yeah, because it's got to be, everybody's got to want it if democracy is going to happen. Because if it's just half or just even a majority, it's still not going to work. You got to have everybody in on this.
Behind it, everyone's got to support the theory of
Or it's
democracy.
So compromise and fear means that everybody should be behind democracy.
Yes, and that if people fear these other people that don't agree with it, and there's fear going around in society, then
democracy isn't going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
But he's saying that he should have equal rights. He should be able to own the land. He should be able to vote and have basic democratic rights that are guaranteed to white people during this time period.
He's saying in his mind, he says, I have as much right as the other fellow has. So he's saying, realistically, he should have the same rights as anybody else does, but right now in society, he doesn't.
That's not the way he's treated.
Yeah, and he says, I have the right to stand on my own 2 feet and own the land. So right now, he doesn't have the right to own land or anything, and he believes he should have that.
Because we're all just people, so he feels like he should be treated no differently than anyone else, just because of the color of his skin.
When he says that he tires of hearing people say, let things take their course, does that mean he's trying to propose a call to action and get people to rise up and support democracy?
I think he's saying that that people just continuously say that democracy is going to come when it comes, but really we got to take some action if we want it to come.
He's saying people are being too passive about the theory of establishing democracy. He wants people to be proactive about getting democracy out there.
Yeah, not just good skin, but proactive.
Proactive, okay.
Yes.
More acne in society either.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
That is tearing us down.
So, Matt,
Yes.
what is Langston referring to when he's talking about bread?
He's talking about civil rights that he deserves and he really wants. Because he feels like, he's saying he can't live on tomorrow's bread. So what he's suggesting is that having civil rights later on down the road when he's dead is useless to him. Or even later on. He's saying, why can't I just have my civil rights right now in the present day? Why waste any more time thinking about it?
Why is society suppressing these people just because of race or color or whatever? Why can't we all just have equal rights? He's saying that he doesn't need it, just like Matt said, when he's dead, because it's not going to help him. We need to act now, and we need to get rights for everybody now, and everybody needs to be equal.
Exactly.
And why does he use the word seed to refer to freedom in the next line?
Because it's something that can be planted in society, and then it grows like a tree. It takes root.
Into a forest, and then into a jungle, and then it takes over the
world.
Exactly.
That's democracy.
That's democracy. And that's what freedom needs to do. Freedom can be planted into society, and freedom can...
It's like a disease. It spreads.
It spreads. But a good
It's a good disease.
So at the end of the poem, do you think Langston's proposing a call to action?
I think he is.
I really believe he is. He's saying, I live here too, just as you. And so he's saying, man, I'm a person just like everyone else. Why shouldn't I be treated any differently?
Yes, we're all on the same world, and we all live in, the same towns, cities, states, whatever. But we all live here, and we all deserve exactly what every other person has.
Which is equal rights.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
That was nice.
So, what were some literary rhetorical devices used in the poem?
One I noticed quite a few times, and immediately, right on the surface, was end rhyme. Did you notice that when he said, I do not need my freedom when I'm dead? I cannot live on tomorrow's bread.
I did notice that, and I picked up on that right away.
I
because
did.
It really emphasizes those
You
words.
did. Would you like me to read the definition?
I would love you to read,
The definition.
read the definition of end rhyme.
And rhyme it. When the last word of two different lines of poetry rhyme. That is.
I was a little confused over that term.
Would you like another example?
Yeah, I would love an example.
Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you.
Oh, thanks, Ricky.
That was definitely
was
not
so-
towards you
yeah.
at all. That was not directed at you at all.
That's too bad.
That was the example on the page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
what do you think the purpose of end rhyme there is as he uses
Well, I
it in
feel
poem?
like it adds emphasis to that word bread. And I feel like we've talked about that word quite a few times.
Bread is a very important piece to this poem.
It is. That bread is a reference to civil rights.
It is. And he's saying that civil rights are useless to him if they come after he's passed away.
And they're not going to help him if he's passed away. So
He needs them now.
that use of end rhyme emphasizes that idea. Okay, we're back.
We are back. And another LRD we're looking at right now, and the fourth stanza is strong seed when he refers to freedom.
Which is alliteration. Would you like me to read the definition of
I would
alliteration?
love you to read the definition of alliteration.
All right. The repetition of the same consonant sound at the beginning of words.
And we see that here with strong seed.
Would you like an example?
I would love an example of alliteration, please.
This would be really funny if somebody wrote a list, but I do not have one, so Sally sells seashells down by the seashore.
That's great.
Would you like me to read the list?
I would love you too.
Sally sells seashells down by the seashore.
All right, now that we have that cleared up here,
Yes.
we're going to look at strong seed as it refers to freedom.
Yes.
And basically, I think the use of alliteration here is to emphasize strong seed as saying that freedom is something that's planted within society, and it takes root in people's ideals, and it spreads, as we mentioned
It
earlier.
does, because when something is planted in society, that thing it
Like an idea.
grows and it seems to multiply over time, and it spreads more rapidly and it becomes more
Like a
spread
fungus.
out. Yeah, but a good fungus.
A good fungus.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to talk about our third LRD, which would be meter.
Meter.
Yep.
Would you like me to read the definition of meter?
You know what? I would love that.
All right.
Let's do that.
Meter.
You drop me, whatever.
Oh, well.
Okay.
It's a regular pattern to the syllables in lines of poetry.
That is a great definition. Well, we did find that. Or I did. I don't know if you did.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
probably-
found it first.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
And I'm going to give credit to
definitely.
Sawyer on that one.
Yeah, let's give credit to Sawyer. on
Okay.
that one.
Anyway, in Langston Hughes' poem, Motto, I will just read it for you. I play it cool, I dig all jive. That's the reason I stay alive. My motto as I live and learn is dig and be dug in return. Did you notice anything special about those first four lines?
You know, I noticed something very strange about them. The first four lines, each line had 4 syllables.
Did it really?
It
I
did.
play it cool, I dig all jive. That's the reason I stay alive. You know, you are right.
And so that kind of gives a meter, but why do you think he uses meter? in
Why?
this poem?
You know what? I feel like the reader, when you read this poem, you know, you just kind of, you feel that beat to it.
Yeah, you pick up the rhythm.
You pick up the rhythm, and you're like, you know what? But he's also talking about music, and I think that's kind of why he gave it like that.
That rhythm sense to it. And
Yeah.
also when he gives it that rhythm, it allows us to pick up on the concepts of
Yeah.
what his motto in life is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Allows us to better understand that.
Yeah. And I think that's why he used meter. Our next LRD is vernacular. Vernacular.
I'll read the definition.
Would you like, here, you find the definition, and I will read the poem.
Yeah.
In the poem 50/50 by Langston Hughes, which I am also going to read right now, he uses vernacular. I'm all alone in this world, she said. Ain't got nobody to share my bed, ain't got nobody to hold my hand. The truth of the matter's, I ain't got no man. Big boy opened his mouth and said, trouble with you is you ain't got no head. If you had a head and used your mind, you could have me with you all the time. She answered, babe, what must I do? He said, share your bed and your money too. Now, that would be the vernacular, because Langston Hughes is using the language of the people, in his society. And have you found that yet?
I have found the
I've given you
definition here.
ample time.
So the definition of vernacular here we have, number 1, it's a language or dialect of a particular country. Or number 2, it's a language or dialect of a regional clan or group. And number 3, it could just be plain everyday speech.
Okay, and do you think that would be plain everyday speech? Ain't got nobody to share my bed. Ain't got nobody to share my
It's
head.
everyday speech, exactly. And he's really trying to put the reader in his shoes and kind of get the reader to see from his point of view.
Yeah,
when he uses
like
vernacular.
yeah, you know how people would say that.
Yeah.
In his society and how he lives. Our 5th and final LRD would be metaphor, which we have already talked about in our
We
analysis.
touched on it.
We touched on it in our analysis
A little bit.
video, and that would be the I do not need my freedom when I'm dead. I cannot live on tomorrow's bread.
And so the metaphor here is obviously bread.
Bread.
And he's using bread as metaphor for basic civil rights and democratic rights, what
Yes.
the poem is all about. And he's
Yes.
saying you can't live on tomorrow's bread, just as civil rights later on down the road, once he's dead, are useless.
Yes. And, you know, I think he says tomorrow's bread because, you know, pretty much what you just said. Because down the road, you know, we're not going to have those civil rights if we keep going the way we are. And that was back in his time. He believed that, you know, people aren't going to have those rights. And so, that's a good point. Thank you. Yeah. And so, I think that's his idea here.
Yeah, that's the main purpose of the metaphor
Yeah.
in that segment of the poem.
Yeah.
It's
That's
really trying to connect the idea of how civil rights are just as basic as food is. You know?
Yeah, and
Like bread.
that's a great idea. That they're so basic that, you know,
You just have to have them. It's a
everybody
necessity.
should know they are a necessity. That you know, you should already have those. Those shouldn't be something
should.
that you should have to fight for. They should be
Exactly.
given to you. And that's his metaphor when he uses bread.